Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Dustin Kreis, and this is going to be part 2 of my top 20 RPGs of all time. Going to get right into it because for some reason, whenever I do this, have done this before, it's been almost a half hour long, and I really need to shorten this video up. So if I go a little fast, that's the reason why. But here are 10 through number 1 of my top 20 RPGs of all time. Coming in at number 10, Suikoden 2. A lot of people would put this higher, and a lot of people want to know, is this game worth the high price that it demands? Yes. Fantastic graphics, fantastic storyline, fantastic music. Does everything that the first game did, only ramps it up and makes it a lot better. I really don't know what else to say about this game, other than the fact that if this ever comes out on PSN, or if it ever comes out on the PSP version, which they were talking about possibly releasing, not really, but if it ever comes out in another version other than the really expensive PS1 version, definitely get this. This is not an RPG to disappoint. Fantastic stuff. Really love the storyline between all three characters. Number 10, great way to start off the list, Suikoden 2. Next up, we have sort of a new release, but it's one of those releases that whenever somebody plays it, they immediately start gushing about it. And that is Radiant Historia on the DS. Fantastic game from top to bottom. Really an interesting battle system. How it forces you to kind of really focus on what you're doing with its puzzle mechanics. Takes everything that Chrono Trigger did with time travel and does it infinitely better. It's one of those games that you don't want to miss, and there has been a reprint of this. You don't get the fancy box or the CD that comes with it, but any way you can get a hold of this game, do it. It's not one to disappoint. Number 9, fantastic game, Radiant Historia. Number 8, continuing on here with that thought with Suikoden 2 and expensive games, are they worth owning? This is one that happily I held on to from childhood, and that is Earthbound. And this is one of the great RPGs of all time because of its aesthetic. How often do we get a modern day RPG where you get to walk around modern day American cities? It's really also a great game because you get to see what the Japanese think of American society. It's really, we get to look at ourselves through the eyes of the Japanese. So it's really kind of funny what they latch onto and stuff like that. But fantastic game. Unfortunately, Nintendo has let this series just wither. You know, this game should have been released about 4 times by now. On the Game Boy Advance, on the Virtual Console. There should have been a DS or a 3DS cartridge having all 3 games together as a collection. I mean, it's really, it's a bit strange. I know there's licensing issues and things like that, but it seems like they can go back in and change the music and stuff like that just so they can release it. But yeah, number 8, Earthbound. Fantastic game. Definitely go out and check that out if you can. Number 7, I had to pick a game from this series to sort of represent the series, and it was really hard for me. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, what's the game that I recommend to more people that want to get into this series? And that game is Ys Oathfellgana. You can get this version on the PSP, or it's now on Steam as well. The Steam version, if it plays anything like Ys Origin, it plays like a dream, so don't worry about that. But took everything that Ys 3 was, which Ys 3 was kind of the black sheep of the series, even though I still think it's really a great game, and just made it better. Made it feel more like Ys. And fantastic graphics, fantastic music. The Ys series, and anything from Falcom really, just has amazing music. So definitely go out and check this out if you can. Ys Oathfellgana, number 7. I keep forgetting the numbers, and I've done this video so many times in a row now that I really should have these numbers memorized. Number 6, keeping with that Falcom idea and the great music. This is a game that completely blew me away. And it's really kind of a bittersweet thing because I don't know if we're going to get the rest of the series. But that is Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. This is easily one of the best games out there for the PSP. Easily one of the best games this generation. And it's so unfortunate that Xseed is having such trouble translating the game and bringing it over. I think only one guy is working on the translation, so it's taking a very long time. And I think they're on game 6 in this series over in Japan now. So I don't know if we'll ever get caught up. But there's talks about releasing them on Steam. There's talks about the new PS3 HD remake of this, PSN. We'll see how we finally get them released. But I think Xseed is going to stick to their guns and bring this out over here, because a lot of people would not forgive Xseed if they just dropped the Legends of Heroes series. But fantastic game, and definitely go out and find this, because it is one of the best RPGs ever made. I love Estelle and Joshua, and then when Oliver gets thrown into the mix, it's even better. So, yes. Number 6, Trails in the Sky. Now, number 5, keeping in line with this sort of modern-day extravaganza. I know, like, why are all these modern games in the top 10? But they are. You know, what can you say? But number 5, I knew this was going to be on the list, but I actually thought it was going to be a lot lower. But then, you know, I was just comparing it to other games, and nothing really blew me away as much as Xenoblade Chronicles. And this game, it's unbelievable on the Wii. Like, you just start walking around all the different environments, and you're like, how'd they get this on one disc? And 2, how is the Wii pumping this out? Just an amazing game, amazing story, amazing music. So much so that I bought the soundtrack before the game even came out. Just everything about this game is a wonder. And, you know, the fact that you can get I got over 100 hours of gameplay out of this, and I did not begrudge 1 second of it. It was just, from top to bottom, a fantastic experience. And this is going to be one of the ones that people look out for when the Wii U drops. They're going to buy a Wii U, and, you know, some people didn't have a Wii, so they're going to be looking at all the old Wii games to sort of pad out the launch titles. And this is going to be one they look for, because it is the best Wii game out there. I'm going to go ahead and say it. So, number 5, Xenoblade Chronicles. Number 4, this one is a lot of people's number 1, but when I really got down to it and thought about it, it had to be number 4 compared to the top 3. And number 4 is going to be Chrono Trigger. And this is the DS version, and this is the version I recommend people picking up. Yes, you can get the Super Nintendo cartridge, and that's really nice to have. The PS1 version, let's not even talk about that. It's on the Virtual Console. I believe it's on PSN. But the DS version is the only version that you can take around with you. And you can play Chrono Trigger anywhere you want to go. And that is really something special, especially when you have like a DS XL. Then the screen size is not an issue. But, you know, I don't even know what to say about this game that hasn't been said before. There was a reason why it was called the Dream Project back in the day. It's just an amazing game, and you kind of have to put yourself in an old school thought process when you play it, but it really is something special. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that there was nothing else like this when it came out, and just an amazing, amazing game. Amazing music too. Like, Corridors of Time is still one of my favorite tracks of all time. It's just a beautiful score, beautiful game. Chrono Trigger, number 4. So that brings us to the top 3. And number 3 is a newish kind of game for me. It's been out for a very long time, but I only picked it up in 2009, and there was something about it. It took me out of being an adult and took me back and made me feel like a kid playing video games again. And that is Lunar, the Silver Star story. And there's so many ways of getting this game. You can get the Sega CD version, you can get this version, Game Boy Advance, you can get the PSP version. There's a version now on the iPad that you can play. So many versions of Lunar out there. But it is one of the fantastic stories in RPGs, and really great old school simplistic gameplay, and it's just something about it just takes you back to being a kid playing games again, even when you're an adult. And you cannot argue that. If you want to buy the complete version out there, Working Designs made a fantastic complete box set for it. Just an amazing, amazing experience. So definitely check it out if you haven't. There's, like I said, there's many ways to check it out. But number 3 is Lunar, Silver Star Story. And then the number 2 game, actually, every now and then, it kind of overtakes the number 1 game. It's usually when I play it. But the number 1 game is very solid where it's at. There's really no surprise on what it's going to be if you follow my channel. But number 2 is kind of going to be a little bit of a surprise, maybe. And number 2 is going to be Dragon Warrior 3. Now, why did I pick like Dragon Quest V or Dragon Quest VIII? I have such a nostalgic tie to this game because, to me, this is the epitome of the original Dragon Warriors on the NES. You know, 1 was a little bit too slow, 2's a bit unbalanced, and then 4 is a little choppy with the chapters. But 3 from top to bottom is fantastic. And then when you get to the end of it and you get to the Dark World and you realize what's going on storyline-wise, like Dragon Warrior was never really known for its storyline, but this game tied together the Erdrick trilogy just in a fantastic way. And I would also say to check out this version. There are translated ROMs out there, and I believe at any cartridge reproduction place you can get the translated Dragon Warrior 3. But Super Nintendo version using the Dragon Quest VI engine is just fantastic looking and preserves everything about the old game. Adds some new stuff, but really is fantastic looking. And then finally, let's go ahead and get to the number 1 game on this list, which is also my number 1 game of all time. If you follow my channel, no surprises here. That's going to be Final Fantasy III, or Final Fantasy VI as it's now known, for the Super Nintendo. And I've talked so much about this game that I really kind of don't want to talk about it anymore. I kind of want to stop making references to it. I want to put it away in a dark corner so I don't talk about it so much. But to me, this is everything that Final Fantasy should be. Everyone talks about Final Fantasy VII being the best Final Fantasy, but this thing was cinematic before we even knew what cinematics were. The opening credits, the opera scene, you know, the big twist that happens in the middle of the game. The mere fact that in most RPGs you're fighting to save the world, and in this one you're fighting to save what's left of it. Really, probably the most depressing Final Fantasy out there. But for me, it is the best Final Fantasy. I love the characters, love the storyline, love the music. Number 1 game on this list, top 20 RPGs of all time, is Final Fantasy 3 or 6, however you want to refer to it. Now, you probably noticed that there's a bunch of games that didn't make the list, like Lost Odyssey, which I haven't finished that. That's why it's not on the list. Xenogears, I find Xenogears to be a little bit of a heady game, and it kind of takes a little bit of the enjoyment down. It's still a great game, and everyone should play it. But you really need to have the perfect works to reference, you know, while you're playing it. And I also feel it's part of the Xenogears, saga. But for the most part, everything else that didn't make the list was part of the same series, so that, you know, left it out. You'll see no Shin Megami Tensei games made the list because I've only played Digital Devil Saga 1. That's the only Shin Megami Tensei game I've played, so I have some work to do with that series. But, you know, maybe in a couple years I'll do another one of these, and maybe the list will change. Who knows? But anyway, I kind of want to keep this short because I've been having so much trouble with this video. But, so I'm going to end it here. Keep it short. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.